Researching your family history can often reveal facts that you're not entirely comfortable with. This is true with my own research and genealogy, and my family's link to the Battle of Cable Street and the Black Shirts. A violent confrontation between the Metropolitan Police and local communities. The incident was later named the Battle of Cable Street. Communist, anarchist, Labour and Jewish groups joined with locals to persist a planned march through the East End by Oswald Mosley's British Union of Fascists. This is one of the least admired areas of my genealogy, as the BUF leader for Bethnal Green was my second cousin Alfred Graham Plaskett, and a close friend of Oswald Mosley. Alfred was born on the 14th of June 1910 and died in 1998. This is the story of that battle and how it came to be. The part that Alfred played in this was one of Mosley's leaders and a close friend. He was a black shirt and a Nazi sympathiser. Cable Street in the East End of London was originally a long straight path adjacent to the River Thames and where ships' cables and ropes were twisted and laid out along. From Victorian times until the 1950s, it was known for its pubs, cheap lodgings and opium dens, presumably because of the street's proximity to London's docks. However, it's most famous as the location of a street battle that occurred in 1936 between Oswald Mosley's Black Shirts, thousands of anti-fascists, which included local Jewish, socialist, Irish and communist groups, and the Metropolitan Police, who, in vain, tried to keep the warring parties apart. It ended up encapsulating the British fight against pre-war fascism, the political force that was marching across Europe in the mid-30s, and realistically dealt the British fascist movement such a blow it never really recovered. Sir Oswald Arnold Mosley came from an aristocratic Anglo-Irish family, and although infamous now for leading the British Union of Fascists before the Second World War, he had a very strange and checkered political career. He was once, at the age of 21 in 1918, a Conservative MP for Harrow, and actually Parliament's youngest sitting Member of Parliament in 1921. However, he left the Conservative Party and crossed the floor, protesting about the use of the Black and Tans, a paramilitary force created by the British to target the Irish Republican Army, but which became notorious for attacking the civilian population over in Ireland. He became an independent MP but eventually joined the Labour Party. He and his first wife Cynthia ironically were ardent Fabian socialists in the 1920s and actually became a minister, albeit without portfolio, in Ramsay MacDonald's Labour government in 1929. His radical proposals to conquer unemployment were consistently turned down by the cabinet, and deeply upset about this, he resigned in 1931. After a tour of Europe, he became enamoured with the new movements of Mussolini and other fascists, and formed the British Union of Fascists BUF in 1932, which soon gained 50,000 members, and the early support of both the Daily Mail and the Daily Mirror newspapers. The BUF's meetings were provocatively racist and anti-Semitic, and the meetings, especially the huge rally in 1934 at Olympia, were ruthlessly stewarded by their black-shirted defence force. However, probably because of the BUF's aristocratic and Tory sympathisers, the police were said to be strangely lenient. On the 4th of October 1936, Oswald Mosley planned for thousands of his supporters to march into the East End of London, mainly because they wanted to antagonise the large Jewish population living there. The Conservative Home Secretary, despite the extreme likelihood of violence, refused to ban the march, and it is said that 10,000 police were mobilised to prevent the anti-fascists disrupting Mosley's rally. However, barricades and illegal roadblocks were erected around the area of Cable Street, of which the police tried to take down. Running battles between the police and hundreds of thousands of anti-fascists chanting the Spanish Civil War slogan, "No pasaran," which means "they shall not pass." There are stories of women emptying chamber pots and boiling water on the police and the black shirts, and local children throwing marbles on the road and popping paper bags of pepper to disrupt the horses. Eventually, the police commissioner demanded that Mosley call the rally off, and the black shirts were eventually dispersed towards the West End and then Hyde Park. Oswald Mosley, meanwhile, had been having a long-running affair with the beautiful aristocratic Nazi sympathiser, Diana Mitford, who had been introduced to Hitler by her sister Unity the year before. Both of the sisters had attended the Nazi Nuremberg rally earlier in the year, and Hitler had actually provided a Mercedes-Benz to carry Diana to the Berlin Olympics. 2 days after the disastrous Cable Street riots, Diana Mitford became Mosley's second wife. Cynthia, his first wife, had died 4 years previously, and incredibly, the ceremony was in the drawing room of one Joseph Goebbels, and the only other witness was Adolf Hitler. His wedding present, by the way, was generously a framed photograph of himself. 4 years later, in 1914, this very photograph was hastily stuffed under the mattress of her newly born son Max when Diana was arrested along with Oswald as Nazi sympathisers. The Mosleys, apparently at Winston Churchill's behest, were interned in a little cottage within the confines of Holloway Prison in North London. Diana said that the best strawberries she ever tasted were grown by her in the cottage's little garden. Max Mosley's son, by the way, was once president of FIA, which runs Formula One. The Battle of Cable Street mural is painted on the side of St George's Town Hall, which has been in the past the Town Hall for Stepney and a local vestry hall. The mural was intended to mark the famous victory by the people of the East End, but was attacked during its creation in 1980, when fascists daubed it with the words "British nationalism, not communism, rights for whites, stop the race war" in 6-foot-high letters. Vandalism has apparently continued, and £8,000 had to be spent on repairs in 1985 and £18,000 in 1993 following attacks. Thankfully, at the moment it is okay, and you can actually see it for yourself by visiting the area. As for Alfred Graham Plaskett, it is very likely he was arrested in 1940 at the start of World War II, serving most of the war behind bars.